go through. The first set of problems are just a review. We already know how to do this. All right, so it's just a matter of you deciding now if you remember. All right, so when you're solving by factoring, obviously you just factor first. So how do I make x squared? Yes. And then what are the factors of 5 that make 6? That's correct, 5 and 1. All right. Now remember, we did the smiley face, 5x and 1x make 6x if they're both what? If they're both positive. Is everybody okay with that? All right, so now we write x plus 5 equals 0, x plus 1 equals 0. So x is either -5 or x is equal to -1. All right, now again, that's a big part of all exams, all tests. Those of you guys who are preparing for an entrance exam, all right, these very, very important. All right, so now let's look at question number 4. A little bit harder because there's a lot of factors of 72, but you guys are smart enough to tell me the factors of 72 that make 17. 12 and 6 is good, but that would make 18. 8 and 9. All right, so here we go. We're just breaking down 2 sets of parentheses, correct? Remember, you're trying not to just write my answers down. All right, you're trying to participate. All right, that's what you're trying to do. All right, so how do I make x squared? X and x. Then I'm asking you for the factors of 72. We already agreed it was what? 8 and 9. All right, now when you do your smiley face, that's 8x, that's 9x. I want it to be -17x, so they're both negative. So then you just write x minus 8 equals 0, x minus 9 equals 0. So x is either what? 8 or 9. There you have it. I don't think that's that bad. All right. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and do the next one. All right, now a little bit harder now. The number's a little bit bigger. All right. So the only way to make 5x squared is with what? That is correct. 5x and x. All right, now the factors of 14 are what? 7 and 2. We could do 14 and 1, but that would kind of be too big. So where does the 7 go? Now, the reason why he thinks the 7 goes on the right is because he's in his brain looking at 7 and noticing I'm going to multiply it by what? And that makes what? And then if this is a 2, this multiplied together is what? Yes. So that's 2x. So with 35 and 2, that makes what? Come on, that's not that difficult. And then because I want it to be positive 37, what's true? They both have to be positive. Is everybody agreeing with this? All right, so now 5x plus 2 equals 0, x plus 7 equals 0. So x is equal to what? -2/5, or x is equal to what? -7. Anybody have any questions with that? Okay, I'm going to put a pause. I want everybody to try to do number 8. Let's see how you're doing. All right, I'll pause the record. All right. I'm ready, Lena.
3x and 2x.
3x and 2x, perfect. Now what? Yeah, is it possible to use 4 and 2? No, because there's nowhere for 4 to go. There's nowhere for 2 to go because it would have a common factor with 2. So that's perfect. Where does the 8 go? That's right. Very good. Because that's -16, +3 makes -13. Perfect. All right. And so now I have 3x minus 8 equals 0. 2x plus 1 equals 0. Selena, what are my solutions? X equals or -1/2. Thank you very much. Easy as can be. Anybody have any questions with that? All right, which kind of brings us to today's lesson. All right, very, very simple. Very simple. All right. I need you to understand when we solve by taking a square root, there is no x term. All right, there is no x term. There's just an x squared and a constant. So everybody needs to understand, you're going to recognize this if there is no x term. All right. So what does that mean? That means you have to isolate the square. You have to get the square by itself. So what's the first step? What do I have to do? Good. Subtract 6. All right. So now I get 9x squared equals 729. Now what? Not quite. Divide by 9. Thank you very much. So x squared is equal to 81. Now, how do I get rid of a square? Now you not square, but you take the square root of both sides. You take the square root of both sides. Everybody good with this? So what number squared is 81? What else? Now remember, there are how many solutions? 2 solutions. So the answer to this problem is x equals, you are amazing, plus or minus 9. That is correct. X equals plus or minus 9. Anybody have any issues with that? Anybody? All right, let's take a look at the next one. Number 12. What do I need to do first? Add 8. So I have 81x squared is equal to 64. Now what do I need to do? Divide by 81. So x squared is just a fraction, 64 over 81. Now, how do I get rid of a square? Take the square root. So x is equal to what? What's the square root of 64? What's the square root of 81? Don't forget the what? Don't forget the plus or minus. All right, hopefully you're agreeing. That's just not that hard, not that difficult. Anybody, if I'm going too fast, you're allowed to slow down and say, give me a little bit of help here. Anybody have any issues? All right, let's see what we're doing on 14. First step for 14 is what? Add 12. Good job. 3x squared equals what? 36. Now what? Divide by 3. So I have x squared is equal to what? 12. Now what do I need to do? Square root. All right, I know it's been a while since somebody's asked you what the square root of 12 is, but square root of 12 breaks down to what? 4 and 3, but the square root of 4 is what? Come on, guys. Square root of 12. Everybody at this stage of the game should be able to just say, well, that's plus or minus what? 2 radical 3. If you don't know that's 2 radical 3, you have to show me 4 times 3 is 12. Square root of 4 is what? 2. Anybody have any questions? Nobody? Okay. What do I have to do first on 16? Subtract 27. So here we go. When I do that, I get negative 9x squared equals negative 100. What is that? 53. Now what? That's right. Divide by negative 9. So x squared is equal to 17. Perfect. And now what? That's right. Take the square root. Can we take the square root of 17? So we say, yep, plus or minus square root of 17. Anybody else? Nobody? Okay, here we go. Now we have to move things around. I got to put the squares with the squares and the constants with the constants. So I have to subtract 2x squared, subtract 2x squared, add 18, add 18. Hopefully you can see that gives me 2x squared is equal to 100 and
42.
thank you very much. Now what? So x squared is equal to, and I believe 73 is prime, which is good for us because now we don't have to break it down. So x is equal to what?
Square.
Yeah, plus or minus square root of 73. Anybody have any questions for that? All right, jump on 20 real quick. Let's see how you're doing with 20. First thing, add 3x squared. And also subtract 35. From there, we end up with, wait a minute, be careful. Do you agree? 5x squared? Yeah, 5x squared equals 85. So now what? Divide by 5. X squared equals, which is nice. Because now it's just, there you have it, guys. That's it. Very nice, very nice. All right, I told you it's pretty easy. Now again, it's not going to be easy if you're just writing things down. All right, 22. Same process. What do I have to do to both sides first? Add 19. What's 81 plus 19? What? 100. Now, a little bit different. You have to undo the square to get to the x minus 1. So I do what to both sides? Square root. So x minus 1 equals, what's the square root of 100? What kind of 10? Bless you. Plus or minus 10. Everybody write that down, please. Now I have to move the 1 over. When I move the 1 over, I want everybody to write this. Don't take a shortcut. X equals 1 plus or minus 10. 1 plus or minus 10. Now we're still not done because you can tell me what is 1 plus 10. And then you say 1 minus 10. What's 1 minus 10? Negative 9. So those are your answers. X equals 11 or negative 9. Why? You doing all right over there? Good? Anybody having any trouble? All right, here we go with 24. What do you think I have to do first on 24? Add 3. X plus 2 squared equals what? 15. Now what? Take the square root. X plus 2 equals what? Come on. But don't forget the Yeah, that's the mistake everybody makes. Plus or minus square root of 15. And now this time, your final step is just to move the 2 over. When I move the 2 over, it becomes what? -2. Put it first. -2 plus or minus square root of 15. -2 plus or minus the square root of 15. Yes, sir. Because I moved it over here, right? Good question. Here, watch me. This right here is a +2. Do you agree? So if I throw it on the other side, it's got to be what? -2. Yeah, the sign changed. Agreed? Now, somebody was asking me, is there anything I can do? Can I add these things together? And the answer is no, because one is rational and one of them is what? Irrational. You can't add rationals and irrationals together. All right, you should be getting pretty good at it now. All right, so let's take a look at 26. First thing I want you to do is tell me to do what to both sides? Add 1 to both sides. So everybody go ahead and add 1 to both sides. And I end up with x minus 2 squared equals what? 45. Now what do I need to do? Square root. Perfect. X minus 2 equals, don't forget the what? Plus or minus. Now, what perfect squares in 45? 9 and 5. What's the square to 9? So we have plus or minus 3 radical 5. Anybody? Final step is just to do what? Move over the 2. When I move over the 2, it becomes positive. Perfect. Now put it in front. So it's 2 plus or minus 3 radical 5. Now, can you add the 2 and the 3 together? And the answer is no, you cannot. You cannot add them together because they're not the same. 2 is irrational. 3 radical 5 is irrational. You cannot add them. All right. Number 28. First step is to do what? Add 10. 4x plus 5 squared equals what? 32. Now I do what to both sides? All right, now it's been a while since we've had to do 32. What's the biggest perfect square in 32, someone? 16 and 2. You can say 8 and 4, but then you'd have to break 8 down again. So I'd like everybody to remember square root of 32 is 16 times 2. What's the square root of 16? 4. 4x plus 5 equals, don't forget the what? Plus or minus what? 4 radical 2. Okay, a little bit harder. Now I have to get rid of the what? The 5. So I move it over, it becomes what? Perfect. -5 plus or minus 4 radical 2. Now what? Get rid of the 4 by doing what? Dividing by 4. So your answer is -5 plus or minus all over 4. Can I reduce the 4 and the 4? No, because again, you cannot reduce through addition and subtraction. All right. Cannot just cross out through addition and subtraction. Anybody have any issue with that? All right, here we go. Number 30. What do I do first? Subtract 4. Six x plus 3 squared equals what? 2. Now what? Take the square root. What does that equal? How much? Somebody help. 6x plus 3 equals what? Plus or minus? Radical 2. Thank you. Don't forget the plus or minus. I'm saying it over and over and over. Now what do I have to do? Move the 3. 6x equals negative 3 plus or minus square root of 2. And then finally, what do I do? Divide by 6. So negative 3 plus or minus radical 2 all over 6. All right, now again, listen, you got to participate, you got to do the work. All right, that is all of the evens. If for some strange reason you're not 100% sure how to do the odds, I have a video. Go watch the video, double check your work. All right, it's going to be a fast end of the year, guys. All right, I don't want you upset about your grade. So please participate. I'm giving you time in class right now. Don't sit and talk and not be productive. Use your time wisely right now. Get to work. The odds are just like the evens. So if you're not sure, look over to the even. All right, that will guide you.